was wrong to reject a previous bid to kick Mr. Trump off the ballot. The Illinois State Board of Elections shall remove Donald J. Trump from the ballot for the general primary election on March 19, 2024, or cause any votes cast for him to be suppressed, she said. A Trump spokesperson has called the ruling unconstitutional and vowed to appeal against it. The Soros-funded Democrat front groups continue to attempt to interfere in the election and denied President Trump his rightful place on the ballot. The spokesperson said Mr. Trump has already appealed against the Colorado case to the Supreme Court. Mitch McConnell, the U.S. Senate's longest-serving Republican leader, has announced he is stepping down from his leadership position in November. The Kentucky politician said it was time to move on in his address to the Senate on Wednesday. Mr. McConnell has proven key to passing conservative priorities and electing Republicans to Capitol Hill, but he has fallen out with Donald Trump in recent years and feuded with him over his election falsehoods. Mr. McConnell, 82, has suffered several health scares in the past year, though his staff say that has nothing to do with his decision. He twice froze when speaking during press conferences in the past year, and he suffered a concussion after falling at a hotel in Washington. The Kentucky senator said in a speech that he would serve out his term, which ends in January 2027, but he would work from a different seat in the chamber. I still have enough gas in my tank to thoroughly disappoint my critics, he said. Over his long career, Mitch McConnell proved himself to be one of the most effective Republican leaders in the Senate, in part because he could alternate between bare-knuckle political hardball and a willingness to compromise when he saw fit. Top U.S. lawmakers have reached a tentative deal to avert a partial government shutdown ahead of a Friday deadline to approve funding. 4 funding bills will now be extended to 8 March, while the rest of the budget will be extended to March 22nd. We are in agreement that Congress must work in a bipartisan manner to fund our government, top U.S. lawmakers said in a joint statement. The House is expected to vote on the stopgap measure as early as Thursday. Democrats and Republicans have been far apart in the budget negotiations on border security and aid to Ukraine. Republicans control the House by a slim majority, while Democrats hold the Senate by a single seat. Spending bills to keep the U.S. government open require buy-in from both parties in order to advance through both chambers to the president's desk for signature. There have been 10 U.S. government shutdowns or partial shutdowns over the past 4 decades. The bipartisan deal was struck by House and Senate negotiators on Wednesday, one day after congressional lawmakers traveled to the White House to meet President Joe Biden. The first clear images of the Odysseus rover on the surface of the moon have just been released. They include a view of the American mission lying to one side, having a broken leg on touchdown. The spacecraft continued to work afterwards, however, sending back data about the lunar environment. Odysseus made history last Thursday by becoming the first ever privately built vehicle to complete a soft landing on the moon, and despite the awkward orientation it eventually adopted, the robot should be celebrated, said U.S. Space Agency Administrator Bill Nelson. NASA had contracted the operating company, Houston-based Intuitive Machines, to carry 6 scientific instruments on board the lander. Odysseus is a success, the agency chief told reporters. We are in the 6th day of what was planned as an 8-day mission, and we are still receiving data from those instruments. Odysseus' descent clearly was a little hairy. The robot was supposed to come down straight vertically with a speed of 1 meter per second. In the event, it had navigation issues whereby the onboard computer couldn't process precise laser range finding data fast enough and had to rely solely on optical cameras for altitude and velocity information. It meant the craft actually came in 3 times faster than it should have, and with an element of sideways movement that resulted in a skid. This probably led to the broken landing gear and the tip-over. Odysseus is thought to be resting on one of its yellow helium pressure tanks at an angle to the surface of roughly 30 degrees. The aircraft was forced to communicate with Houston via its low-gain antennas, but once controllers got the hang of how the signals were being sent, a broad data stream was established. A rapidly spreading Texas wildfire has killed 1 person, forced residents to evacuate, cut off power to homes and businesses, and briefly paused operation at a nuclear weapons facility. The 2nd largest fire in Texas history, it has burned 850,000 acres of land north of the city of Amarillo. Texas Governor Greg Abbott issued a disaster declaration for 60 counties. Dry grass, high temperatures, and strong winds have fueled the conflagration. In Hutchinson County, one of the hardest hit areas, public engagement coordinator Deidre Themis told press one person had died in the blazes, although she did not name the victim. The Texas A&M Forest Service said that the wind had diminished slightly, helping to moderate the fire's spread. It remained 3% contained as of Wednesday afternoon. However, rain was expected in the state northern panhandle on Thursday, which may aid efforts to extinguish the blaze. In the meantime, hundreds of firefighters and fast responders have been deployed to the fire. Seth Christensen, the spokesman for Texas Division of Emergency Management, said the Smokehouse Creek fire, as it has been named, has already razed 500,000 acres. It remains behind the East Amarillo Complex fire, which burned over 900,000 acres in 2006. U.S. Supreme Court justices grappled with the mechanics of bomb stocks on Wednesday as they weighed whether to lift a ban on the gun accessory. Fitting a bomb stock to rifle enables the weapon to fire hundreds of bullets per minute. The Trump administration banned the devices by classifying them as machine guns after they were used in the deadliest mass shootings in U.S. history. Under the 1986 National Firearms Act, owning a machine gun is illegal, but a Texas resident and a gun owner, Michael Cargill, has challenged the ban on bomb stocks, saying the government has interpreted what qualifies as a machine gun too broadly. The case has now reached America's highest court. It is illegal to modify the internal components of semi-automatic rifles, which typically manage about 60 aimed shots per minute, to make them fully automatic, but gun owners can legally buy accessories to increase the rate of fire. The bomb stock harnesses a rifle's recoil to rapidly fire multiple rounds. It replaces the weapon's stock, which is held against the shoulder, and allows the gun to slide back and forth between the user's shoulder and trigger finger. The motion or bump lets the gun fire without the user having to move their trigger finger. At Wednesday's hearing, both liberal and conservative justices seem to struggle with some of the more technical aspects of the case about the function and application of bomb stocks, as well as the statutes that define and ban machine guns. Speaking to Mr. Cargill's lawyer, Liberal Justice Elena Kagan asked how a gun with a bomb stock could be differentiated from a machine gun. She said a machine gun needed continued pressure on a trigger, while a bomb stock needed continuous pressure on a barrel, adding, "I can't understand how anybody could think that those two things should be treated differently." But conservative Justice Brett Kavanaugh pointed out that the two presidential administrations before Donald Trump's had found that rifles with bomb stocks were not considered machine guns under the relevant federal statute, that reason for a pause. Justice Kavanaugh said. A former Australian politician sold out the country to a foreign spy network, the nation's intelligence chief has alleged in a speech outlining the activities of the group dubbed the A-Team. Mike Burgess claimed the MP had offered it access to the then Prime Minister's family. He did not name the country or the person or the country they worked with, but said the plot had unfolded several years ago. The claim has stoked Canberra, with some calling for the MPs to be unmaxed. While delivering his annual threat assessment in the capital on Wednesday, the Australian Security and Intelligence Organisation chief said the now disbanded A-Team was an aggressive and experienced foreign intelligence network which had identified Australia as a priority target. The spies posed as consultants, headhunters, local government officials, academics and think tanks researchers, claiming to be from fictional companies. He said they targeted an array of people: students, academics, politicians, business people, law enforcement, public servants, offering to pay thousands of dollars for reports on topics including trade, politics, foreign policy and defense, Mr. Burgess said. Information on the AUKUS Defense Pact, which Australia signed with the UK and US, was of particular interest, he added. But the former Australian politician was the most portable individual the foreign wing had successfully cultivated and recruited, he claimed, while offering no specific details on the years they were active. This politician sold out their country, party and former colleagues to advance the interests of the foreign regime, Mr. Burgess said. At one point, the former politician even proposed bringing a Prime Minister's family member into the spy's orbit. Fortunately, that plot did not go ahead, but other schemes did. Alex Turnbull, the son of Malcolm Turnbull, who was in power between 2015 and 2018, on Thursday told press he had once fielded a brazen approach by suspected Chinese agents and could be the family member Mr. Burgess was referring to. Mr. Burgess said the former politician in question is no longer working with the group, adding that Australian intelligence officials had disbanded its operations and helped unaware participants extract themselves. Several individuals should be grateful the espionage and foreign interference laws are not retrospective, Mr. Burgess said, referring to tougher laws which passed the country's parliament in 2018. And that is the international news for today. Before we go, another look at the major stories. From Uganda, victims of warlord awarded more than 52 million euros. From Gaza, journalists send open letter for unfettered access. From South Korea, government threatens legal actions against striking doctors. From Sweden, traces of poison gas detected at security headquarters. From United States, President Biden's doctor says he is fit for duty. From Australia, intelligence chief says former politician worked as foreign spy. I am Valentina Lawrence. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on all our social media platforms. On X, formerly Twitter, Atlantic TV Net, Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram, Atlantic TV Network, or you can watch us live on our website at atlanticnetwork.tv. Do remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Thank you. Have a lovely afternoon.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara